Everything you've been told about being a gray man is a lie. And in a crisis that lasts longer than a weekend, that lie could be the thing that gets you targeted. Here's the uncomfortable truth most prepping channels won't say out loud. Your tactical bag, your blacked out windows, your stony silence at the mailbox, none of that makes you invisible. In a short emergency, sure, nobody's paying attention. But 3 weeks into something serious, when the trucks stop coming and the neighborhood gets quiet and hungry, all of that turns you into a person of interest. The man who says nothing, goes nowhere, and keeps his blinds shut while everyone else is panicking, he isn't hiding, he's advertising. He's the one house on the street that doesn't add up. And in a long crisis, the thing that doesn't add up is the thing people start watching.
So today, we're going to do something different. We're going to throw out the fantasy version of the gray man, the one sold to 25-year-olds who think survival is a tactical aesthetic, and replace it with something that actually works for people who've lived long enough to know better. I call it the ghost method. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why being forgotten is 1,000 times safer than being defended. Stay with me, because the third section is the part nobody talks about. The reason most preppers get exposed isn't their supplies, it's their behavior. And it's almost always something they don't even notice they're doing. I'm glad you're here. Let's get into it.
Let's start with a hard look in the mirror. Walk into any prepper meetup or scroll any survival forum and you'll see the same uniform. The 511 pants, the earth tone tactical jacket with too many pockets, the oversized get-home bag built like it's going to war. There's a whole industry selling the idea that looking prepared is being prepared. Here's the problem. That look was designed for a battlefield where everyone around you is also kitted out and nobody stands out. Drop that same outfit into a grocery store parking lot during week 3 of a real crisis, and you are the single most memorable person in the lot. You don't blend in, you broadcast. Think about who actually lives on your street. The retired school teacher, the young family with the minivan, the guy who works construction. Now picture a slow-moving emergency, a financial collapse, a long grid event, a supply breakdown that drags on for a month instead of a day. Everyone gets thinner, more tired, more worried. Their clothes get a little more worn. Their cars stop moving because fuel is precious. And then there's you, moving with purpose, dressed like you're ready for anything, carrying a bag that clearly weighs 40 pounds. You haven't blended into the rhythm of struggle. You've stepped out of it. To a watching neighbor, that contrast is louder than any siren. I want you to understand the core mistake here, because it's the foundation for everything else. The mistake is confusing short-term invisibility with long-term invisibility. In a riot that lasts an afternoon, nobody remembers your face. But scrutiny is a slow fire. The longer a crisis lasts, the more time people have to notice, to compare, to gossip, to wonder. Short chaos hides you. Long instability exposes you.
And here's the part that should genuinely make you reconsider your whole approach. The lone wolf silence that so many preppers are proud of. The I keep to myself, nobody knows my business mindset. That doesn't read as private. In a tight, frightened community, it reads as suspicious. Humans are pattern recognition machines, especially when they're scared. The house that goes dark and quiet while everyone else is out trading news and rations becomes the house people whisper about. What are they doing in there? Why aren't they struggling like the rest of us? You didn't hide. You created a mystery. And desperate people solve mysteries. So before we go any further, I want you to hold on to this one idea. In a prolonged crisis, the goal is not to disappear. The goal is to become unremarkable. Those are two completely different things, and confusing them is the first tactical tell. We'll come back to that.
Now let's talk about the thing the tactical crowd never accounts for: people. When supply chains break for a long time, something predictable happens at the local level. Small communities turn inward. Neighbors who used to wave from the driveway start actually talking, not because they suddenly love each other, but because information becomes survival currency. Who has fuel? Who has a generator running? Whose kids look hungry? Who got a delivery last week? The block becomes an informal surveillance network, and nobody even calls it that. It just happens. I've studied how communities behave during extended disasters, long blackouts, economic collapses, regions cut off for weeks. The pattern repeats.
People watch. They keep mental ledgers. They notice the small things. And the longer it goes, the sharper that watching gets.
This is what I call the neighborhood investigator effect. You are not being surveilled by a government or a gang. You're being quietly assessed by Brenda across the street, who has nothing to do all day but sit on her porch and observe. And Brenda is good at it. She's lived here 20 years. She knows whose routine changed. She knows your car hasn't moved, but your trash can is full. She knows your windows glow faintly at night when the rest of the block is pitch black. Now, here's the trap. The standard prepper response to this is to disappear, to go fully dark, lock down, become a hole in the neighborhood. But a vacuum doesn't make you invisible. A vacuum gets filled. When you remove yourself from the social picture entirely, you don't stop existing in people's minds. You become the unanswered question. And curiosity, when paired with hunger, is dangerous. The empty space you leave is exactly the space a desperate or simply nosy neighbor will eventually walk into.
Let me give you concrete examples of how standard security measures backfire, how the things meant to protect you actually announce you. The generator. You bought it to keep your freezer running, but in a silent neighborhood, a generator is the loudest possible declaration. This household has fuel and power. The hum travels for blocks at night. You've just published your status. The blackout curtains. You think you're hiding your light, but the only house on the street with zero light leakage, perfectly sealed in a power outage? That's not normal behavior. Normal frightened people are inconsistent. Perfect light discipline is a tell.
The fresh garden, the full trash, the unworried posture. Every one of these is a data point. Individually, they mean nothing. Together, a watching neighbor assembles them into a profile. That house is doing fine. And doing fine is the most dangerous reputation you can have when everyone else isn't. Do you see the pattern? Every classic prepper measure is built around concealing your supplies. But you don't get exposed by your supplies. You get exposed by the contrast between your situation and everyone else's. The supplies are hidden. The contrast is not. Quick gut check before we move on, and be honest with yourself. If a crisis hit tomorrow and dragged on for a month, how many things on your property would quietly tell a watching neighbor that you're better off than they are? Hold that number in your head. We're about to fix it. This is the heart of it. This is the shift that separates people who survive scrutiny from people who get singled out. The ghost method is built on one idea: psychological camouflage. It is the art of appearing just as stressed, just as affected, and just as ordinary as everyone around you. You are not trying to look prepared. You are not trying to look mysterious. You are trying to look like one more tired person in a tired neighborhood. The ghost isn't the man who vanishes. The ghost is the man nobody thinks about at all. For the older prepper, this is where you have a genuine, enormous advantage, and I mean that sincerely. You have spent decades learning how to read a room, how to make small talk, how to be appropriately unremarkable in social situations. The 25-year-old with the tactical loadout has gear. You have something he can't buy: the social fluency to disappear into plain sight. Your age, your calm, your ordinariness, those are assets, not liabilities. The ghost method is built for exactly your skill set.
So let's define the core shift. We're moving from physical concealment to behavioral mimicry. Stop asking, how do I hide my stuff? Start asking, how do I behave so that no one wonders about my stuff in the first place? What does behavioral mimicry actually look like? It means matching the rhythm of the people around you. If the neighborhood is rationing, you visibly ration too, even if you don't have to. If people are out gathering and trading, you show up and participate, carrying a little, taking a little. If everyone looks worried, you wear the worry too. You let yourself be seen struggling a little on purpose, because struggling a little is the most invisible thing you can possibly do when everyone else is struggling. This is counterintuitive, and it's why most people get it wrong. Their instinct under threat is to project strength, control, total readiness. But projecting strength in a sea of weakness paints a target on your back. The ghost method asks you to project normalcy, which in a crisis means projecting a believable, measured version of the same difficulty everyone else is feeling. And here's the principle I want you to write down. An unremarkable daily routine is more protective than any perimeter alarm. A motion light, a camera, a barricade, those are physical defenses that confirm you have something worth defending. But a man who walks his dog at the same time every day, chats briefly with neighbors, looks appropriately tired, and gives no one any reason to wonder? That man has built a wall that no one can even see because the wall is made of not being interesting. The most defended house on the street gets robbed. The house nobody thinks about gets left alone. That's the whole game. If this is landing for you, do me a favor. Drop a comment with the word ghost so I know who's actually thinking this through. It helps me understand which of you are ready for the advanced material, and it tells the algorithm to show this to the people who need it. Now let's get tactical about how you actually build this. Here's where the ghost method stops being a mindset and becomes a strategy you can execute. The single most powerful tool you have is what I call the useful neighbor technique. The idea is simple. Small, visible, public contributions buy you something money can't: social immunity. When you're the person who shared a little extra coffee, who helped fix someone's fence, who passed along useful information, you stop being a question mark and become an asset to the community. And communities protect their assets. Nobody investigates the helpful neighbor. Nobody whispers about the man who lent them a hand last week. Now, and this is critical, there's a precise art to this. You give minor things, visibly modest things. A cup of something, a small favor, a bit of knowledge. You never, ever reveal the depth of what you actually have. The goal of the contribution isn't generosity for its own sake. It's to establish a public ceiling on what people believe you possess. If they see you sharing your last little bit, their mental model of you becomes, he's getting by, same as us. You've used a small, controlled gift to hide a large reserve.
This brings us to the second pillar, controlled vulnerability. You must let people see you struggle in small, believable ways. Mention that things are tight. Let them watch you stretch a meal. Admit lightly that you're worried like everyone else. Because here's the psychology. People don't target those they see as fellow sufferers. They target those they perceive as having. The prepper who projects total self-sufficiency makes himself a resource to be redistributed. The man who seems to be barely managing, just like them, is one of the tribe. Vulnerability, used deliberately, is armor. I know that's hard for some of you. There's pride in being prepared, and the instinct is to let people know you've got it handled. Resist that completely. In a long crisis, the words, "I've got plenty," are among the most dangerous you can say. Swallow the pride. The man who seems to have nothing keeps everything.
And the third pillar, and this is the modern one most older preppers underestimate, is managing your digital ghost. In 2026, the vetting of community members increasingly happens in local online groups before it ever happens face-to-face. Neighborhood social media pages, local chat groups, community boards, these become the first place people check when they want to size you up. If your digital footprint screams doomsday prepper, if you've spent years posting about your stockpile or your tactical gear, you've already been profiled before the crisis even starts. The audit isn't just your front yard anymore. It's your search history and your post history. So the digital side of the ghost method is the same as the physical. Be unremarkable. Be the person whose online presence is boring, ordinary, forgettable. The goal is for someone vetting you to come away thinking, nice enough, nothing special, and to move on. Pull these three together, the useful neighbor, controlled vulnerability, and the digital ghost, and you've done something the tactical prepper can never do. You haven't built a fortress that announces its own value. You've woven yourself so completely into the ordinary fabric of your community that the question, who has supplies, never lands on you at all.
Let's bring this home, because there's a final mental shift that ties everything together. The old model says hide, defend, isolate. The ghost method says blend, integrate, persist. You are not trying to weather the storm by sealing yourself off from it. You are surviving by becoming a part of the landscape, by adopting what I call the local rhythm of struggle. When you move at the same pace, wear the same wear, and carry the same low-grade worry as the people around you, outside attention simply slides off you. There's nothing to catch on. Threats from outside the neighborhood look for the anomaly, and you've made sure you aren't one. So let me leave you with a practical audit.
A checklist to run against yourself this week while things are calm and you can think clearly. Go through it honestly.
1. Walk to the street and look back at your home as a stranger would. What's the single thing that says this household is different? Fix that first. 2. Inventory your tactical tells. The clothing, the bag, the gear, the bumper stickers, the yard signs. Anything that signals prepared comes off the visible layer. Function stays, signaling goes. 3. Audit your routine. Is it rigid enough to be predictable or natural enough to be ignored? You want a routine that's consistent in a human way, not in a clockwork military way that a watcher could set their watch by. 4. Audit your noise and light. Could a neighbor identify your household as the one with power from the street at night or from the sound after dark? Plan now for how you'd match the darkness around you. 5. Audit your digital ghost. Search your own name and your neighborhood groups. What would a curious neighbor learn about you in 5 minutes? Make it boring. 6. Identify 2 or 3 low-cost, high-trust, useful neighbor contributions you could make early in a crisis. Things that cost you little but buy you a reputation as one of the community, not a resource apart from it.
Run that audit and you'll find tells you never knew you had. Every one you remove makes you a little more forgettable, and forgettable is the safest thing you can be. Because here's the mindset shift that I want to stay with you long after this video ends. True security isn't found in being defended. It's found in being forgotten. The fortress draws the siege. The ghost is never even looked for. While others are fortifying, broadcasting, and turning themselves into the most interesting target on the block, you will have done the harder and wiser thing. You will have become no one worth thinking about. That's not weakness. That's the highest form of preparedness there is. And it's a form that rewards exactly the calm, the patience, and the social wisdom that comes with experience. If this changed how you think about the gray man idea, you're exactly the kind of person this channel is built for. We don't deal in tactical fantasy here. We deal in what actually keeps experienced people alive. Tell me in the comments, what's the biggest tactical tell you just realized you've been carrying? I read every one, and the best insights from this community end up shaping future videos. If you found value here, subscribe to Bunker Down Survival. Next, watch the original video that started this conversation, The Real Gray Man Rules. It's linked right on screen, and it's the perfect companion to everything we covered today. Until next time, stay calm, stay unremarkable, and stay ready. Prepared minds survive.